This conference will now be recorded.
All right, I'd now love to introduce Joanna Peters for tonight's presentation. Go ahead, Joanna.
Great. Thank you so much, Akara. Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining. So my name's Joanna Peters. Thank you so much for joining us. We're going to be covering how to ease many tools, how to ease the anxious mind today. So I don't know if anyone's had any anxiety really recently or if anything has triggered anybody with anxiety. No, just me. So we're just going to talk through some of that and what helps me. I'm a life coach, a mindset and energy certified life coach, as well as an intuitive healer and author. I'm going to jump into a presentation in a minute, but first of all, I just wanted to acknowledge the environment and the energy right now in the universe and the world, everything. The energy itself is crazy. So even if you normally have anxiety, you have this primal fear anxiety kicking in that's everybody, right? So even if you think your anxiety has been better in the last decade and now it's come back, that's why, right? So if you think about a lizard, for example, right? So if you're seeing a lizard walk along the street and something makes a noise, then the lizard will just bolt, right? That's just a primal instinct, lizard-like instinct to just go, right? Whereas a mammal, like if you think like a deer, will kind of put his head up and look around, right? What's going on with us right now that's been triggered is that primal lizard instinct thing, right? So first off the bat, before we dive into any deeper, just to validate that feeling is real, right? It served a purpose when we were cavemen, but right now I like to view it as kind of like if you have a house alarm and if the alarm goes off, then someone calls you and says, is everything okay? And you get to put your password in or give them your code word and say, no, everything's fine. I like to respond to my lizard fear right now a bit like that, right? So it's giving me a warning, but I get to choose if it stays or not. I'm like, oh, it's that lizard thing because mad things are happening in the world. So I can just say, no, thanks, right? I'm good and just kind of move on. So I'm going to share with you, going to start to go through the PowerPoint presentation now. We're going to be covering, one moment while I get my screen up. Hold on. Akara just showed me how to do this. Screen, application window, that, share.
And in the meantime, I wanted to let everyone know Joanna put some great resources in the chat that she'll be talking about. So definitely take a look at the chat when you have a chance. But Joanna will let you guys know.
Cool. All right then, so how to shift the anxious mind, right? So this is a mindset class with a spiritual approach to promote self-compassion and mindfulness. So when I talk about spiritual approach, we'll get into that later, but it's not a specific religion. This class works for everybody. So we'll jump right in. There are three components that we're going to be covering with regard to shifting your anxious mind. One is learning how to stay in the present moment. One is understanding your personal mindset patterns, because we all have unique personal mindset patterns that play into anxiety. And lastly, the third piece of the puzzle that's important, connecting to your spirituality, whatever that looks and feels like for you. So first one, learning to stay in the present moment. Maybe this is familiar to some of you, right? But this screen is what a typical brain looks like, especially females, not to pick on us, but we're pretty good at multitasking, but also we're bad at shutting down all the tabs, what's going on in our minds. And we have past thoughts at the same time as right now thoughts, at the same time as future thoughts, right? All in the same brain in the same moment, right? We're kind of going back to that thing in high school and then we're looping randomly on past failures. We're thinking, oh, I can't believe they did that. And then we'll kind of have some paranoid thoughts like, was I just weird? Does he or she like me? Then, you're kind of beating yourself up sometimes. I can't believe I was just late, right? So you've got those past tense type of thoughts going on, as well as the now thoughts. I'm hungry, creative brainstorming on something, how to redecorate your house or your garden or your business. Then also who wants what for dinner. You get distracted by a text and get pulled that way. And then while you're doing all that, you're walking to grab your laundry, right? So that's the now. And then again, still in the same body, we've got your future stuff with a good trigger at any moment, where it's whether you've got to respond, thinking about if you have to respond to a client. Yes, I'm going to make better choices tomorrow with regard to food. Can we afford college? Am I going to make enough money this month, right? So first things first, this is my why slide, right? Why do mindfulness, right? And it's because we were only made to live in one tense at a time, right? And just a bit more science before I explain, right? Oh, hold on. There's a visual of what it should look like, right? So mindful and mindful, right? So if you look at the bubble on the right there, the only thing in the person's mind is what's in front of them, right? So that's the key. What's in front of you right now in this moment, not what was in front of you a minute ago and not what's going to be in front of you in a little while. So that's the goal here. Okay, so grounding through mindfulness, right? So grounding is a set of strategies that detach from emotional pain or discomfort caused by triggers or overwhelming thoughts, right? So we're going to go into this in a little bit more. But basically, we think something quite often subconsciously, or we have other thoughts going on in our brain, and each one of those thoughts triggers emotions in our body. The thoughts come first, right? We're not aware of our thoughts necessarily. We're just aware that our emotions have changed, right? Now we feel anxious, or now we feel sad, or now we feel excited, right? But there are thoughts that are generating those emotions. So by reducing the number of thoughts at any time, that's going to reduce our control our emotions more. And how we do that is we distract from our emotions by using our senses, right? To focus outward on the external world rather than looping inside of our minds. So because the reason why we want to focus on use our senses to anchor you into the present tense is because you can't use your senses in the past and you can't use your senses in the future, right? So how you stay now is consciously concentrate and practice using your senses to stay in the present tense. And then we're going to cover how we spiritually ground as well, so you can connect your soul and your spirit and your energy to the earth while being connected to whatever your truth is of your higher power, because that will add another layer of comfort to these thoughts. Let's try what I just explained, right? So just look at the picture for a second and notice where your thoughts are going, right? Maybe you're thinking, where is she from? Her accent's funny. I'm from England, by the way. I should always start with that. But I've been here for a while, so my accent is confusing. So whatever random thoughts you're having, just bring them back to your experience using your senses right now. So feel your weight in your chair. What do you hear? What do you see? Right? So just look into the picture. And as any thoughts fly off into either the future or the past, just acknowledge them. Like, oh, hey, future thought. Hey, past thought. Hey, random judgment or assessment of the situation, right? But just bring it back to, okay, right now, using your senses. Another tool is to use your breath. So it's common to say breathe, but breathing I don't think is terribly helpful without the description that you're supposed to be noticing how you're breathing using your senses, right? So while you're breathing, if you take a slow breath in, you can feel the breath on the top of your mouth. You can feel air going in your lungs. And it's really just about noticing whatever is going on with you right now. And the longer you practice that, when I first started, I could do it for about 7 seconds at a time before my mind would fly off. The longer you practice, though, the more you're able to get longer and longer at it. And regardless, even if you only do it for a short amount of time, you've given your body a break from all those triggering thoughts and all those triggering emotions, because each of those emotions that you're feeling are actual catabolic energy in your body that trigger hormones and adrenaline, etc. So you're just giving your body a break from all the triggering thoughts. So that's why we do mindfulness. All right, so that was the first one, learning to stay in the present moment. Next is understanding your personal mindset patterns. So as I said, we've all got this lizard thing going on right now, right? Which is something bad is happening in the universe. Maybe I should have a response to that, right? So once you've put that aside and acknowledge what that is, right? In this moment, I am safe. Then we've additionally got new personal mindset patterns, the way we think about things that are going to be triggering new emotions, right? So we want to talk about what your personal mindset pattern could be, right? So here's the mindset science behind it that I've kind of alluded to before, right? So you see the eye on the left. Our personal lens of life, experiences, and fear is the lens that we see life through, right? You know that two of us could be looking at the exact same scenario and have a different opinion or views on it, right? Or feel differently about it. That's why. Because we all have our own personal lens of life based on our experiences and fears. It is what it is as of now, right? These subconscious thoughts that are created are based on things that have happened to us in the past, right? So, things, if your parents got divorced, if you've lost a parent, if you've had a strict parent, right? Many things like that go into what our subconscious thoughts are, right? Bad things happen. I can't fail. Things like that. So, but it's those thoughts that trigger our body reaction that makes us feel overwhelmed and anxious. So then you might get the symptoms like faster breath, chest tightness, knot in your belly, whatever happens for you. Then based on how those subconscious thoughts in our body reaction, which as you know happens in a nanosecond, we then get our reactions or actions, right? So some of us in response to that might attempt to control our environment or the people around us. Some of us might strive for perfection so we don't fail. Some of us might hide under our covers and eat and numb ourselves, right? Some of us automatically blame others. None of these are wrong. They're just natural human responses, depending upon what your, again, experience and makeup is and what you've learned. Another action is to distract or busy yourself, right? So that's just kind of basic what's going on in our mindset, right? To review that, just basically it's personal. But the bubble that we can change, though, is the thought bubble, right? We can change the way we think. And that's what a mind pattern is, right? So a mind pattern is a way our thoughts typically flow right now, the way we typically think, given our experiences of life so far. We all make assumptions about what people mean versus what they actually say, and make conclusions about ourselves based on these automatic patterns. So I just want to go through a scenario just so just to explain an example of a mindset pattern, right? So when a family member is unhappy, this is something that might happen given someone's personal mindset, right? So if the family member is unhappy, you might try and fix the situation to try and make them happier. If they then stay unhappy and even lash out, you could get mad at them, act out, or shut down, right? I tried to help you. What's wrong with you, right? And now I'm going to explain why that happens in relationships, right? Because one person thinks these things first. Before they try and fix a situation, they interpret a person's discomfort as a problem that needs to be fixed, and probably have the subconscious belief that it's their responsibility to make people happy in life, right? So then, based on those 1 and 2 thoughts and beliefs, that drives this person to try and fix the situation with the attached to the outcome to make the person happier, right? So then what happens after that, after the person, as is their right, stays unhappy, and they were probably lashing out at the person trying to fix them or make suggestions that they weren't happy with, right? Then the next thing that wasn't there before, why you get mad, is because you feel overwhelmed and frustrated because you can't make a difference to fix it. Again, you think it's your job, right? You want everyone to be happy. And then there's a deeper subconscious thought like, I'm failing, I'm not good enough, right? Which doesn't feel good. And based on the not feel good feeling, that triggers you to be angry at the person for making you feel this way, right? If they would have just taken your great advice, then they wouldn't be angry, right? So that's quite a typical mindset pattern. So how a different way to think of things is the way to go, right? So if you establish that you have an individual mindset pattern that isn't working in a certain relationship that you have, then you might want to look at these things for that particular pattern, right? So a new mindset roadmap would be something like, when a family member is unhappy, you remind yourself that other people's emotions are not your responsibility, right? You detach from outcome, right? They get to be unhappy and sit in it if they want to, right? That's their choice, right? But you can think then from a different space, how can I support him, right? So hold space just means just sit with the person and let them be unhappy, right? Validate, like, I'm sorry, having a hard day is validation. Or it makes sense you feel upset based on, how important that was for you, right? That's validating somebody without trying to fix them. Or you could ask them if they need anything I can get you, right? And if they in that moment want to stay in their unhappiness, they'll say no thanks. And you've done your job, right? But your actual responsibility always is to do a personal check-in, right? You are only ever responsible for your own feelings. So how am I doing, right? And you ground and reconnect if necessary if you feel your emotions a bit off based on the other person being happy, right? And we're going to talk about some of those grounding and reconnect tools later. And maybe a mindset affirmation, right? I am enough, right? Separate from other people's life experience. I'm great. I rock. I'm doing my thing over here. The fact that they're unhappy, not my responsibility. All right. So that's an example of quite a common mindset that makes fighting between relationships and makes, individuals unhappy. Right. So mindset patterns can have us feeling, well, first of all, a mindset pattern creates your current reality, right? So whatever situation you're in, your mindset pattern has created it, right? The good news there is that when you fix your mindset pattern, you can create a new reality, a new relationship, a new situation at work, whatever it is, right? So mindset patterns can have us feeling stuck when we are not, rejected in relationships when it wasn't their intention, as though we have failed when we haven't. It can make us feel unsafe when in that moment we are safe, overwhelmed when we try to control more than is our responsibility to. So on to control. I don't know if anyone's phoning in, I can't see anymore, but right now I've got a picture of a sailboat on the ocean. There's a beautiful starry sky behind it. So I'm getting to an analogy here, right? So that sailboat, if it wants to get to a different destination, ultimately to land, it only has a few choices within its control, right? It's a sailboat. It doesn't have a motor. I don't see any oars, right? It's a sailboat, so it's what it would be able to do, what's within its capability to do to change the situation of it being in the middle of the ocean and to influence the outcome that it wants, which is to get to shore. It just moves the sail, right? Moves it a bit to the left, moves it to the right, makes an adjustment. But around it, there's things that aren't within its control, are the tide, the moon affecting the tide, the wind, the weather, right? The big old sky, how cold it is in general, right? So there's lots of things outside of the sailboat's control. And the reason why I use this as an analogy a lot, especially around us human beings, we like to think we have an awful lot more control than we do of life. I used to have a therapist once that called me the managing director of the universe because I was really trying to influence the entire universe at the time, and I was taking responsibility for everything, right? So to go back to this sailboat analogy here, if the sailboat was to start getting mad at the tide or the wind or start yelling about the weather, right, it wouldn't be helpful, right? So there's an awful lot of things outside of its control that just needs to be okay with, just needs to make its peace with, do its thing, right? Just change the sailboat and move on, right? So whenever you are getting frustrated or overwhelmed, it's always good to go back to the analogy of the sailboat and think, what's actually within my control and what isn't, right? So within my control is to make sure my mindset is correct, to practice mindfulness, to speak up about my needs and desires, to go for a run, take care of my nutrition. There's lots of things that affect your overall anxiousness that are within your control, but there's an awful lot that's outside of your control. And when you can't change something, you need to change your mindset around it, right? So you're not triggering all of your internal hormones in your body and creating that anxious feeling. So I like to use the sailboat analogy whenever I'm feeling anxious because it's normally something I'm trying to control that I can't and shouldn't. So, why understand your personal mindset patterns? It's important to know the difference between what feels true and what is actually truth. That's quite a powerful sentence, so I'm going to say it again. So it's important to know the difference between what feels true, like it feels super true that that person rejected me, or it feels super true that the world is coming to an end, or it feels super true that blah, 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 ... right? Versus the actual truth, right? So the truth is, in this moment, I am okay. In this moment, I have enough toilet paper. In this moment, my family are safe. Or in this moment, I'm being taken care of by a doctor, right? So it's just like, in this moment, what's the truth, right? And not to future think and catastrophize. I can't say the word, but where you think in the future that something worse is going to happen than might. Just bring your thoughts back to, in this moment, what's true. So we've done learning to stay in the present moment and why it's important to know your personal mindset patterns. So next we're going to bring it all together at the end, but next we're going to do connecting to your spirituality. So, what does spirituality mean to you? Take a look at that slide. There's a whole bunch of different things on there. We have specific religious faith, trusting your intuition, signs and messages, faith that the universe is working for you, peaceful connecting in nature, faith in a higher power, believing your loved ones are supporting you from above, right? Some people find dimes and things like that, and that brings them peace, right? So our own personal spiritual journey is very important, period, but also is a tool to reach back and connect to when we're feeling anxious. Because going back to the sailboat analogy, if you think you are the managing director of the universe and you think you are in control and nervous about how the wind's going to blow and what the moon's going to do with the tide and all the things you don't know about, all the things that are uncertain, then you can remind yourself that you're not the managing director of the universe and that you are just the sailboat with your sail, but you connect to and trust and have faith in and find yourself at peace with connecting to your spirituality. Again, whatever that looks like for you. So again, I've just put a pretty picture up for those in the phone. So just look at it and just find some peace for a second. Just think about what spirituality means for you. So getting clear on how you connect to your spirituality is super personal and super important. However you connect to it, it's important to spend the time to connect your body. Get out of your head, get out of your thoughts, shut your thoughts down. In this moment, you are okay, and connect your body to spirituality. And you will immediately get that release in the reminder that you are not the managing director of the universe, because you truly are so loved and supported. So put your hand on your heart for me. Physically right now, move your hand to your heart. When you do that, you amplify your heart chakra, and it's easier to connect to love, right? If you think first of all about things that you love, and this can be activities or people or pets or it's just the universe, whatever it is, connect to love. Use that mindfulness thinking. If your mind's flowing away, notice your senses. Just listen to my voice. See what's going on with your breathing. Feel your breaths on the roof of your mouth. Exhale any energy that isn't working for you. And just with your hand on your heart, feel love. And then connect that deeper to how loved you are by your, whatever your higher power is. Universe, God, Jesus, angels, guides. It doesn't matter. Whatever you personally connect to and whatever it looks like to you, everything's personal. If it's angels, you can visualize the angels around you, right? Because whenever you call on spirituality, it meets you. It's not an abstract thing. There's a loving force around you that is supporting you. But because you have free will, you have to ask for its support. Angels aren't going to intercede. Your God is not just going to, jump in and fix your life, right? You have free will. So you have to, part of the sailboat action, some of the things that you are responsible for is to ask for help. Like I'm having a moment. Help me to calm down. Help me to know what's my responsibility and what's not. Help me with this new mindfulness thing I'm practicing. And just remember you have a whole body, not just your thoughts and your head, right? You have a whole body. So feel what it feels like in all of your body. So now I'm just going to walk you through a short meditation, which brings all that together. So just sit comfortably and relax wherever you are in your chair. If you're driving, don't do this. I hope you're not. And just close your eyes and imagine because by the way, when you use your imagination, that's another way that you connect to your spirituality and to spirit, right? So it's your third eye. I used to think it was some complicated thing you had to do, but if you just visualize stuff, that works. So visualize for me a swirling crystal white light above your head. Like a big swirling light. And then just give it permission to come from the top of your head. Imagine it coming through the top of your head now. And as it's moving through that sparkling diamond light, crystalline, loving white light, it's just soothing your thoughts, relaxing your thoughts. It fills up your whole head space. It comes through your throat. So anything that's been left unsaid, your throat's probably aching from that. Or if you're not expressing yourself enough, but it's just going to soothe that now in your throat. And it continues to pour in its unlimitless support and love coming from above you into your head, through your throat. Now it's coming into your heart space, your shoulders. Everywhere it goes, it's healing, it's repairing, and it's bringing this loving energy. It's replacing whatever was there. It's transmuting it. And just visualize that continuing to flow through your body, in your arms, your chest, your belly. Each time you breathe in, you're breathing in more of the white, beautiful energy into your body, and each breath out, you're breathing out the energy that no longer serves you. It's continuing to flow into your body, in your legs, your knees, your calves. And as it comes out your feet, it's also a beautiful vine is coming out of your feet that just continues to shoot down to the center of the earth. And that's grounding you. It's a beautiful, flowery, leafy vine. It's coming out of your tailbone as well as your feet, and it's grounding you to earth. So you are truly spiritually supported. You're grounded into the earth, and this light just continues to flow through your body. It's a constant flow like a waterfall. It's a spiritual cleansing. All the way through your body, all the way out. So while that keeps going, put your hand on your heart again and affirm for me. Say out loud, because no one can hear you. Your mics are off. In this moment, I am safe. And feel that with your hand on your heart. Feel that love in your heart chakra expand. I am loved and supported. Say that out loud with me. I am loved and supported by the universe. My happiness matters. My unique expression of myself matters to this universe very much. Calming my anxious mind and connecting to who I am helps me be fully me, whoever I was created to be, the best person, the best version of the best mother, the best version of yourself to be all of those things, right? But it starts with taking care of you. So I'm just going to leave you a minute for your own thoughts for a second while you continue with that flow from your head all the way down your body, still cleansing, still loving, still supporting. And just breathe. All right, come back and look at the screen. I'm just going to count you down from 5. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And just come to use your senses again as to what's around you. Notice the sensations in your heart or your chest, or if your breathing changed, just kind of notice how you feel and what you were able to create. So, next slide. Reminders that we've learned in this presentation. For a peaceful mind, not an anxious one. You were only built to live one moment at a time, right? So whenever you notice that busy mind, lots of thoughts, you can retrain your brain to only be in the present moment, in the now, through mindfulness and grounding techniques. You can retrain your mind to support you. So again, you can discover what your personal mindset patterns are, and you can adjust them. Those mindset patterns, by the way, are really fun to do, to uncover what they are in relationships. So a lot of things that are, you might assume your partner should know about you, they won't, because you're assuming that they know your subconscious thoughts. So you can retrain your mind, and when you retrain your mind, your actions will change your partner's reactions, because if two people are doing a dance and one person changes their steps, you both have to change steps, right? So changing your mind is just your mindset, and your personal, whatever your patterns are, is super important and within your power, something you can do. And last point, you are supported and loved. You've just got to remember to connect to that support. Right? It's there, but again, we have free will. We need to ask for help. We need to actually on purpose connect to whatever our spirituality is. So that is the end of the presentation. We're going to open up for questions, I believe. But the last page I just wanted to direct you to, and I've dropped some of these links in the chat. I have an anxiety tool on my website that's totally free that you can download, and it's a summary of what this presentation was in like a PDF file. You can just follow the steps. There's 3 steps. The mindset affirmations to kind of remind yourself to stay positive. I have 14 days worth of the mindset affirmations that can be emailed to you daily. That's a free thing also. And I have a community that I post lots of training videos and inspiration several times a day, actually, on the Soul Weary Women Facebook community. So that link, I don't think I posted it down below. And you can find me with any questions by email as well on hello@joannapeters.com. So I'm going to stop sharing now and come back.